Please be seated. Mr. Buddy Wright, would you offer the invocation? Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being here today. We'll call the meeting to order. We have all 5 commissioners in attendance. Do we have any opening remarks, any comments, anything from the board? Seeing none. Seeing none. We have any additions and deletions? Additions.
Yes, sir, Chairman. The first addition is by Commissioner Dan Curry. I'd like to add TDC North End Reserves with possible motion. Second one is by Commissioner Johns. This is to reallocate some recreational plat fees for Helen McCall Park. And then the last one is, last add is Commissioner Anderson. He has an update on the Florida Power and Light transmission lines across the bay. And we have one deletion under Commissioner John's tab, and that was the item about a business tax license.
Motion to approve the agenda with the additions and deletions.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Glidewell, seconded by Commissioner Curry, to accept the agenda with the additions and deletions. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show that adopted 5-0. Anything else, Mr. Kellenberger?
Nope. No, sir.
All right, let's move to public comments.
Don't see anything.
Okay, looks like everyone's going to stay for the program. That brings us to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
to approve by Commissioner Johns.
Chair,
seconded
I'd like to remove 15 and 18 just for discussion. Should be a quick discussion, Chair.
Okay, well, we had a motion and a second.
Any request to remove from the consent agenda automatically takes them off, so as long as he makes the ask before you vote, they come off.
Okay, all right, 15 and
18.
18. Okay, is there a motion?
Commissioner Johns motioned, I second
Okay, Commissioner Johns moves to accept the agenda, the consent agenda as is, with the removal, but for the removal of 15 and 18, and seconded by Commissioner Glidewell. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show that adopted 5-0. Okay. Before we go into citizens' requests, Commissioner Anderson, did you have an item that you wanted to?
Yes. I would like to call Ms. Lee Moore up. We've got some very good news about FPL, and believe me, Lee and I have worked on this quite hard, and so has quite a few other citizens in Walton County, and so has quite a few commissioners. So I would like to turn the floor over to Lee.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson, Chair. Lee Moore, Leigh-Moore, and I'm here representing Scenic Walton today. So we, in 2024, found out that Florida Power and Light was planning to build a new transmission line from Defuniak down to Santa Rosa Beach, mostly moving along 331. And, you know, we we promote underground utilities everywhere and anywhere possible, but transmission is much more expensive to underground than distribution type lines. So we knew it wasn't a good possibility that it would be undergrounded the entire way. But what really got our attention is that at the time they were planning to run the line over Choctawhatchee Bay, adjacent to the Clyde B. Wells Bridge. And we just felt like that was, from an aesthetic perspective, pretty horrible. We didn't want to ruin or detract from those beautiful views across the bay. And we also had huge concerns from a resiliency standpoint. If a transmission line goes down, it can be weeks, if not months, that power is out, and they're sort of like the backbone to the system, so it can affect a lot greater area at times. And if they go down in the water, it's even worse. So I came to the county and started with Commissioner Anderson and talked about this, and Commissioner Anderson was already concerned about it. So we decided to partner and go to Florida Power and Light and ask them to underground that line under the bay. So long story short, we put up a really strong front, I think, and thank you, Attorney Atkinson and Commissioner Anderson and everyone else that has worked on this. And we've been keeping in touch with Florida Power and Light about it since 2024. They said they would consider putting it under the bay, and we're doing some engineering and cost studies. So very recently, they came to me and told me that they have decided to table the entire project for now. And so not only will they not be putting that line over the bay in the near future, but the entire line won't go in. They were in a situation where they really needed to increase their capacity. They found other ways to do it rather than building this line at this point. Now, it's not permanently off the table, and they don't have an idea of when or if it might come back up, but this has been, in our opinion, a huge victory for Walton County and for the community and for our citizens. And we are thrilled about it. I want to thank the county commission and the county government in general for getting involved, and Commissioner Anderson for leading that effort, and for those in the community that helped as well, and put pressure on Florida Power and Light. And I also want to thank Florida Power and Light. They could have built this. They had all the approvals and permission they needed, and they decided to go back and take another look, and they found a different way for now. So thank you all. We're just excited and thrilled, and these are the kinds of things that, first of all, they're the kinds of things that we do at Scenic Walton. Most people don't even know we're working on it behind the scenes. And second, this just shows what can happen when we come together and we work together on things that we agree on and believe in, especially passionately, which this evoked a lot of passion. Every person I talked to about it said, I don't want that across that bay. So anyway, that's the announcement, and just a lot of gratitude, and just really appreciate everything.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Anderson, you're recognized.
Yes, Lee, thank you. Just so you know, when I first heard about this, my first call was to Lee. My second call was to Barbara Morano. Now, Miss Morano and I don't agree on a lot, but we sure agreed on this, and she worked her tail off too, and I want to thank her. And it was a community effort. It was a government effort. Mr. Adkisson and I met with them, and I want to thank Mr. Adkisson because he basically told them that we were against it, and if it took it to the Supreme Court, we were willing to go. But you don't win against Florida Power and Light. So
We're ready to go as far as we needed, but we didn't have great hopes.
as Lee said, I thank Florida Power and Light for reconsidering this. And this by no means says it'll never happen, but it's not going to happen for a while. So all you people that are here, if it comes again, gear up. But right now we've got it on hold. So thank them for me too, Lee. And I'll thank Bernard when I see him.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, let's move into citizens' requests. We have item number 24, Joel Duncan, South Walton Little League. You're recognized.
Thank you, County Commissioners, for allowing me to speak today. So my name is Joel Duncan. I'm the volunteer president of South Walton Little League. I just want to give you an update quickly on our registration numbers for 2026. We had a record-breaking registration year to the surprise of one. We had over 520 kids registered to play South Walton Little League. That resulted in about 52 teams, and as a member of Little League, we're required to play 12 games for our older divisions to be considered actual Little League. Right now, we're currently operating off 3 fields at Dune Lakes for our Little League division for all our kids. To play 12 games in a regular season, we do that over the course of 10 weeks. That's roughly 312 games in 10 weeks. If you do the math on that, once our regular season starts for the older kids, which is this week, upcoming week, we'll play roughly 5 to 6 games a night through about mid-May. Due to the lack of fields here in our county, it puts us in a real bind, and it puts our kids and parents in a real bind to be able to facilitate games and practices. We like for our kids to at least have 1 game a week and 1 practice. But due to our field capacity issues, we're currently unable to provide that for our children. Not only is this an issue for South Walton Little League, it's also an issue for other sports, such as South Walton Recreation Basketball. Our registration numbers for rec basketball, just in the south end of the county, was more than the rest of the county combined. Despite the supply and demand issues, we have the least amount of facilities compared to the rest of the county. So I come to you today, we've been told for years that we're gonna have a revamp to the Helen McCall Park. I was told that was gonna start in Q1 of this year. I wanted to see if we had an update in regards to that revamp of Helen McCall Park. And if we are remodeling Helen McCall Park, I ask if we could do a feasibility request to see if turf fields can be placed at Helen McCall. If you look at surrounding counties, to Okaloosa County, Destin.
Hold on 1 second. Commissioner
Yeah.
Anderson, do you have something?
Yeah, from my investigation, it's gonna cost between $750,000 per field to $1 million. Plus, we have to buy special equipment to take care of the field, and anybody that spits a sunflower seed in those seams, it can ruin the field. It's not, and I'll be honest with you, I coached Little League for 15 years, and my kids played 2 nights a week and on Saturday. So it's not ideal. We are gonna get more fields, and we're working on that. And we're in the, if Chance is here, I'll bring him out and see where we are on it. But if somebody would check and see if he's back there. But, but anyway, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't want my baseball playing grandson is 5 years old. He'll be 6 in 2 months. The speed the ball comes off that artificial turf is dangerous for young kids. It's hot. Has to be taken care of constantly because of things that get spilled on it. In theory, that's a good idea. In reality, I just don't think it's a good idea to spend $1 million on an artificial turf field that has the potential to really get a kid hurt.
Chair.
I remember reading an article back in the 70s by Mike Smith, the Hall of Fame third baseman for the Phillies, and he said that if Bo Jackson can play with a metal bat, then he's retiring because he's on Philadelphia has artificial turf, and he said, I'm not playing third base with a ball coming off artificial turf and a metal bat. I just, we put this special kind of clay on the fields in Dune Lake, and all the coaches loved it. It drains. We don't have rainouts like we used to. And I just think you're asking, there's gonna be 5 or 6 fields there or more. And that's $5 or $6 million we're spending on that field, not counting the equipment we have to pay for it. That's my opinion. You know, I'm haven't, legally, I can't talk to the others, and I don't break the sunshine law, so,
Is it okay to
Chair.
speak?
yeah, sure.
Well, hold on. Is there additional comments,
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Curry?
I would prefer to take that kind of money and put it in additional fields instead of doing the turf. Like Commissioner Anderson, I've coached Little League football for a while, and I can't tell you how many times I get complaints with elbows bleeding on the way home and everything else from those rubber pellets and everything else. The older kids, yeah, I'm all for it, but the little leagues, I think it's, I don't know. I think that money would be much better spent on additional ball fields. We just got that land up at the north end, so we can, you know, hopefully add to some of the ball fields there so we can spread the wealth a little bit. If we concentrate so much money on one particular field or one particular area, then other youth in the county, you know, don't get those opportunities. So I appreciate your comments, Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Thank you. Hi. I'd just like to say that I've talked to a lot of people about the turf as well, and I understand it is hot. I understand that kids' cleats actually melt, and I understand that we would have to fence it, and then people that wanted to go and play at off times wouldn't be able to get in to play. But what I think we're looking at right now at Helen McCall, and I don't know if this is something that has been processed yet or not, but we're looking at possibly doing all the baseball fields at Helen McCall and then the other fields at Dune Lake. And maybe we could have a pilot program with one field to check and see how it goes. But it is very, very expensive, and it is very hot from everything that I'm hearing. And that if there's anything done that, you know, as far as like somebody spitting a sunflower seed or doing whatever, that could really create a problem as well. So I think if we do this, that we should do it in a pilot program fashion.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lowe?
There's a lot of benefits, to turf fields, and most of the surrounding counties and most of the larger parks are going to turf. One, it almost eliminates rainouts because you can put the drainage in that field where it doesn't, in 15 minutes, the water's gone. And there are ways that it is easier to maintain. And if you build the fields big enough, you can take the outfield and that becomes a multi-use field. And you can buy a little robot that'll, in 15 minutes, can have that thing lined out from lacrosse to soccer to football to baseball to softball. So I don't think we need to just out of hand reject it. I'm not a big fan of feasibility studies, but I am willing to do on this particular subject just to see what it would cost and to see what the advantages and the disadvantages are. So I think we need to at least instruct Mr. Kellenberger to get us him and Mr. Alford get us a study done.
And to your point, Danny, thank you. If you look at the surrounding counties, I'll use Panama City and Pier Park. We are tight on space here. We all know in the south end of the county that we're very limited on space. The benefit of a turf multi-purpose field is you could use the field for multiple purposes, right? So it could be a baseball field. You take one slab of turf, you can have 3 baseball fields. You could have 2 soccer fields, 2 football fields. It's multi-purpose. So there's a ton of benefit, and I'll just end with this, or I can keep talking about this for days. We would be the only ones in the area that thought this was a bad idea. If you look at the surrounding areas, each park is doing this. From Gulfport, Mississippi to Pier Park, every coastal community is transitioning to turf. So I would kindly disagree with your assessment. If it was so wrong, then why is the rest of the communities and facilities and youth sports making this transition? There's
I
safety
believe Dothan,
concerns.
Alabama is too, and Tallahassee, Florida. They're making that transition too, I think.
So I would just take in consideration maybe their actions and why they chose to do that. If we could look a little deeper into that to see if it would be feasible, because there's plenty of maintenance costs. I see today we just donated $10,000, or looking to donate $10,000 to replace our dirt at Dune Lakes. There's plenty of cost associated with natural fields as well.
So let me offer this, maybe as a compromise. I don't want to pay an exorbitant amount of money to a professional consultant to do a feasibility study. What if we, because it seems like we have a difference of opinion on both sides of this, but I think everybody's kind of, their intentions are moving in the right direction. It's what's in the best interest of the kids and the community. What if we asked Brad Alford and Shane Supple and maybe Joe Roboto and whomever else the appropriate staff might be, get together with Melissa and maybe put together a white paper assessment of what it would cost to do this initially, and then maybe what the maintenance and upkeep would be, also keeping in mind, you know, the usage policy. If we did move to something like that, who could use it, when they could use it? Because the last thing I want to do is be able to restrict parents and other kids from being able to go out there on the weekends and utilize the field, because that's, I think, Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Gladwell, I mean, all of us grew up around the Little League field, and on the weekends, that's kind of where we spent our time on Saturday and Sunday afternoon, going out there in
Me
our
too.
spare time. Commissioner Johns. So what if, would it be acceptable to the board to ask those staff members to put together a little white paper on what that would look like, and then we could choose at that time whether or not we would proceed or whether or not we would just kind of put that idea on hold?
Chair, can I add just to that? Can we look at a comparison cost of how many fields we're going to put at the north end? So you would have how much it would cost to turf current fields, and then compare to how much it would cost to purchase or to implement 5 or 6 fields at the north end. So we can see, okay, well, we can turf these 5 fields, but we can get 5 additional fields for the same amount of money.
Well, whatever, let's allow staff to dig into that, and any commissioner that would like to offer up something in particular that they would like looked at, feel free to add that to your request list to them, and I feel like they would be accommodative.
You need a motion for that?
I don't think so, do we?
No, it's general staff direction.
No, but I'd like to add one thing.
Go ahead.
I heard something recently from an individual I was talking to on a totally different matter, and I was told that there's a new turf coming out, or somewhat new, you may be familiar with it, that's got some brown in it, and it's not quite so hot. Are you familiar with that?
Most of the fields, so I'm just going to use Okaloosa County and Preston Park, they have turf infields and they're brown. It's never really been a complaint that I've experienced them being too hot. I get way more complaints about bad hops off the dirt, having to maintain the dirt, having to constantly lime the dirt. You know, we're a group of volunteers and we do all that on our own for no pay. It would sure be nice to roll out to the park and not have to chalk before a game.
Right.
I've been on them fields in the middle of July, and it's not hot. Not any more hot than it is on a clay field.
Well, I've been on them, and like you said, they are hot.
I'd
care
like-
what either one of you say.
Yeah.
They are extremely hot. The guy at Frank Brown Park, they started with a T-ball field, and they said nobody wanted to use it because it was so hot.
I know, like in the paint industry that I was in, we had some reflective type stuff where you could get the same color as your browns, your dark colors that would reflect just as much heat as the white colors. Now, I don't know if that kind of technology is in that turf, but one of the prime components in that paint is called Kynar. So I don't know what these fields would, I mean, because technically the darker the color, the hotter the surface. Lighter the color, the cooler the surface.
In regards to the Frank Brown Park, that is not an artificial turf field. It's a special needs field, and it requires a different surface that we would be playing on here.
Okay, I think we have good direction. We good with that, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Kellenberger?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, tab number 25, Joe Johnson.
Chair, may I say one thing on this? The reason I put this add-on on is because I saw this item coming up, and this item, you really can't go one way or the other on until you do my add-on. You don't know which direction, I mean, he's more than welcome to, you know, but that, if that money's not there, then there's nothing to request. That's why I did the add-on. So I don't know if you want to do the add-on first, or listen to him and do the add-on. It's your choice, but I just wanted to explain, that's why I put the add-on on.
Gotcha. Let's get a flavor of the ask, and then we'll move in the direction that we need to,
Okay.
as the conversation is socialized. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
To Mr. Johnson?
I'll tell you what, let him make his presentation, and then we'll have a little idea of what's going on, and then Commissioner Anderson, you'll be recognized to ask the first question.
Mr. Chairman, I do appreciate the opportunity to speak for you today, with this board. This came to light whenever I was notified that the money on the North PDC was going to be used for advertising. There's a history with Dr. Shepard's collection. That collection has been in conversation for over 10 years. In that 10-year period, there was Bill Fletcher, that was a member of the, I think it's called IPS, Institute for Senior Professionals, that did a study in 2013. When they were doing their study, they mentioned that the North PDC would be an asset because Walton County, along with Okaloosa County, I believe, separates the South PDC and the North PDC. Bill Fletcher worked real hard to get this North PDC. In my understanding, talking to Mr. Fletcher over the years, the purpose of raising money to buy the extractor collection for Dr. Shepard. Since Dr. Shepard passed, we did have an agreement with Dr. Shepard on the purchase of those tractors for $1.5 million. That was raised to $5.25. I've been in contact with the family since the passing. I talked to Penelope Jordan, which is the daughter, a couple of weeks ago. They're in the process of finalizing the estate, and we'll also sign an agreement to continue giving this county the opportunity to purchase those tractors for tractor UC. They will hopefully will have that agreement in the next couple of weeks. It will be for 90 days with a 90-day extension. And I wanted the opportunity to ask that this North End PDC money, I understand there's $800,000 to be used for the purchase of those tractors. I believe Kellenberger and I met with Penelope, and she said she'd be willing to sell the tractors for 1.5 and give a couple of years for the county to build a building. So that's why I'm here today. We asked, instead of spending this money for the advertising of Walden, Walden, which I do have a document prepared by Kim Faulkner, and I will let her present that. I'll tell you what, I will present that now. I think I have it. Mr. Chairman, I present these. That's explaining that we need something for the clerk to come to see before you spend $600,000 on advertising. We feel like that with the state park, within a mile of this facility, that we just get this tractor collection purchased and the building built. The state park will open up in March, along with the tractor arena, the education arena that we use for health update. We feel like that it will help build a tourist attraction for the North Walton that we desperately need. And I feel like this is, I'm not getting to how things are running, but I feel like the South PDC can advertise the South PDC along with the North PDC, that we have projects that will bring people to the south, which they can come to the north and spend the day. And I think it's a work hand in hand. And we would like to have an opportunity on the North PDC to have a little bit more input, possibly like Santa Rosa, to have a North TDC committee and the South TDC committee, but that's another topic. Today, I'm asking that $800,000 be used for the purchase of tractors. And I would like to work with Ms. Thompson and arranging other money to complete that purchase.
Okay.
I got a motion if you let me go first.
I'll ask my question.
Before we get
Well,
into the motions, let's give the opportunity to the other commissioners to ask questions.
Well, my
Other
question
presenter.
is, didn't the TDC just make the decision in their last meeting that this 600,000 was going to be used for advertising?
Yes.
They did?
I have to take and prove that. I believe that's been testimony before, that the TDC is an advisory board, and that the county commission would have to approve the expenditure, and that's why I'm asking today.
Well, I personally think that it should go back to the TDC and see what they think, because why do we have the advisory board if we're just going to override what they say?
I have a lot of problems with the advisory board and not having the Northern representative, Mr. Steiners, at that meeting. So if you would like me to go back to the advisory board, I'd be more than willing to go to the TDC or to address that to the TDC, because I think Mr. Steiners should have a conversation before they start spending the North End TDC money. And I think Mr. Steiners should get that at that meeting.
But he would have been at that meeting, right? I mean, he should have been, he just wasn't there.
I understand
Okay.
he was not at that.
Okay, well, hopefully he would be at the next one.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
would like for you to approve the money today.
I got a motion.
I don't feel right about that.
Go ahead, Dan.
Let's make sure do we have any additional questions for the
I don't have
presenter?
any
That was-
questions.
So you said that these tractors are 1.5 million, but you're asking for how much, 600,000?
What I'm asking for, the tractor collection raised 5.25 million, Dr. Shepherd's family agreed to take a 3.7 as a tax credit and give it opportunity for this collection to preserve the benefit of the FFA museum at 1.5. You have $800,000 in this account, and I'm asking for that $800,000 to be earmarked for the purchase of this 1.5. And I would like to take and work with Melissa Thompson on arranging other funding so we can get this purchase completed.
Commissioner Anderson, do you have a question?
My question's the same thing. I think you need to go back to the TDC council. I'm not sure the legalities of it, but everything we've ever voted on that was concerning money had always been run, I'm correct in this, aren't I, Mr. Adkisson?
Well, not everything. I mean, certainly you have the ability to override them by a supermajority
But
vote.
they've already decided to spend this money.
You would have to override them by a supermajority vote or to not include it in their proposed budget when it comes before you. So it would require extraordinary action on your part. Certainly, it is well within the board's purview to refer it back to the TDC. That is your choice.
Chair, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I think that you said that you'd be willing to go back to the chair. Mr. Sconiers would hopefully be at that meeting, and you'd be able to discuss it and bring it back to that board.
I would be more than delighted to go for the TDC board and present this to the board. And I do request that if Mr. Steiner is not available to do so, that we need to table it until he is there. But what I would like to see, if it's in the capacity of this commission, is to set up a North End TDC money and let the North End committee spend the money on the North End and let the South TDC money spend the money on the South.
Well, it would be fair if he were there, so.
Well, we
It's fair to have more than one representative.
We tried the two different, and that didn't work. And
Well, I
so,
think the problem, Mr. Commissioner, is that the North End is not educated about the TDC in general. I think we should educate the North End public that there's money that could be used to benefit the North End, that we'd be more willing to participate.
but I have a motion that we we suspend spending that money and we send the whole matter back to the TEC for the 800,000. And that we direct Ms. Thomason to find us 800,000 in the extraordinarily budgeted money or things that the unencumbered reserves to finish out, and that we buy this thing. We have been talking about this for 10 years. It is time to move on and either do it or not. So I think if Mr. Johnson's willing to go back to the TDC, send him back to the TDC for the 800,000 and send Ms. Thomason back to whittle her pencil and find us another 800,000, and we get it on with this. And that's my motion.
I'll second. Chair, can I make a statement?
Sure.
Two things. One, I was at the TDC meeting, and it was very unclear of the goals, milestones, or process that this 600,000 was going to be spent. It was, we got a plan. What was the plan? Well, I didn't see a plan. Nobody gave a plan. So I'm just not in for just writing a blank check and keeping a slush fund for what-ifs. So you have to have something to bring something to you. I mean, Defuniak is a wonderful place. I love that lake and everything else, but you got to have some type of attraction to spend for marketing. You don't market something that you don't have. And by earmarking that money for marketing, to which you don't have, is, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. The other aspect is, to help Melissa out, I was turned down the last time, after I made a motion with the beach chair of any money. I'm not all about grabbing out of the general fund, especially with all this stuff up in the air, with the property taxes and everything. I can't make a motion on anything with the beach chair of any money, but if Melissa would keep that piece of paper to the side, if that's a plan B, I would like to do that. But we have been talking, just like Commissioner Gladwell said. I mean, this was even before I was up here, we kept talking about this. We have to find something at the north end that matches the diversity of the north end. We don't want Walt Disney World up there. We don't want, you know, these water parks and casinos and all this stuff. I think a ag center with equestrian center with 10 acres for the FFA to plant seed and sell and just all, we're losing the lost art of farming and the ag culture. So I am for this, so I appreciate Commissioner Gladwell for making the motion.
Okay, so I think there's I mean, unless I'm sensing this wrong, I believe there's a collective agreement among the board to get this project off the ground. I think maybe the pathway to get there may be a difference of opinion. What I would offer, what I would suggest is that, well, my concern is by doing it through this methodology, we're going to drain the entire account basically, and it's taken quite a bit of time to build it up to that level. And then the amount of time that it would take to replenish those dollars, you're really restricting the North TDC from being able to have, you know, some say in how those monies are spent. What if, and I rationalize my argument based on some comments that have come out in prior meetings about the South and the North working together for a better Walton, for a collective benefit for both the North and the South. Here's what I would offer is that why don't we take Mr. Johnson up on the prospects of going back to the TDC, putting it in an appropriate posture for the council members who are the appropriators of those they're the architects of designing that budget. That budget has already been put in place. I think it would be kind of and I don't say this in a mean-spirited way, but it would be somewhat perceived as a slap in the face to the TDC council to just go ahead and bull through this without a specific plan with how those monies would be spent, where the accommodations would be made. So why don't, would it be okay if we just put the project back to the TDC? We'll have representation there to be able to explain the benefits and how it may be a good idea for tourism efforts in Walton County, and there may be a way to work together, and it softened the blow on this $800,000 ask. Maybe we could get some collective participation. And I think, I feel like in prior meetings there has been an interest in trying to do that. Would the board be amenable to amending the chair would entertain a motion to take the item, put it back to the TDC, give them an opportunity to socialize that, work through what that looks like, put together a plan, and then if they have buy-in, maybe there's something that what works for both of us, bring it back to us, and then we can modify it, accept it, or reject it.
Isn't that what your motion says?
Basically,
But
the only
without-
difference is we need to,
I just don't want to commit to spend without going.
we're not
towards the
really
TDC.
committing to, but what we are committing to is getting on with it. The,
I
Ms.
agree, I
Fal-
just want to do it the right way.
Ms. Falconer's paper, I hadn't had a chance to really work on it, but, I mean, look at it, but I did glance through it. But it caught, one of the things caught my eye is, that you need to have a product before you advertise it. I mean, that just makes, it's been a long time since I was in marketing, probably about 40 years, but that makes sense to me. And we need to have a product. Now, I agree with you. To spend the TDC money, Mr. Johnson needs to go back. I think he's willing to do that. That's the first thing he said. But Melissa needs to be working on the rest of it, and we need to either, you know what, or get off the pot. One of the two. We need to move forward, or we need to move on. Ms.
Can I speak to that a minute? Kim Falconer,
You're right.
FALCO-NER. Exactly what you said, Mr. Gladwell. We do have product in North Walton County. It just has not been built out enough to market with that type of money. And I say this to you from experience. I was a senior executive with the agency of record for the Florida Keys and Key West for many years. We took Key West as a small artist colony and turned it into a world-class destination. And we did it through events. We did it through what the Keys and Florida Keys and Key West offered best. I'm not suggesting we turn North Walton into a world-class destination, but I'm suggesting that we use the agriculture, the heritage, the history, the music that's going on up there by people like Tim Jackson, the Summit on the Circle that Diane Pickett is doing. She's bringing children into that. There are so many things that are just kind of sitting there, percolating, ready to be jumped on and built out if some of this money could go towards that. And the Tractor Museum would be a huge attraction for visitors that are going to spend money, they're educated, they're going to want to visit all of Walton County, not just the beach. That's the visitor we want.
And I do think our TDC staff does a great job of marketing Walton County. But I don't think, I think what they do for South Walton, just as a regular means of operation, it also works for North Walton. When you're advertising for Walton County, I think most people understand Walton County is a big place. So I think that $800,000 would be better spent to generate a product. And we do have, I don't mean to insinuate we don't have product, because anybody who looks at downtown Defuniak, what it was 10 years ago and what it is today, it's not even a fair comparison. It was dead 10 years ago, and it's very much alive today. So Morrison Springs is I mean, we've got attractions, but we need a centerpiece. The South Walton tourist economy, which is 70% of our total economy, but it's built on the beach. I mean, people are not coming down here to see, I mean, there's other things to see, but the beach is it. The beach is the driver. And we need a driver in North Walton County. That's my point. But I do think we need to let the TDC council weigh in, because in fairness to them, now I watched that meeting. In fairness to them, nothing was ever mentioned about any of this. They were not presented with options. They were not presented with, well, we can do this or we can do that. They were presented with one way to go. That's not, you know, it's only fair to let them have a shot at it. That's my opinion. But I think the motion as it stands would do exactly what the chair would like to see done.
I agree.
Please repeat the motion.
That we ask Mr. Johnson to go back to the TDC board, to the council, and present this project as an alternative to the $800,000 or the $600,000 advertising spend, and ask them to reconsider and consider this project. And in the meantime, instruct Ms. Thomason to go back and find alternatives for the rest of the money, which includes the beach money, or it includes anything you deem necessary or you deem in the best interest of the county.
So would it be fair to say that you want to take the project, put it back to the TDC to consider, and while we're doing that, ask Ms. Thomason to look for alternative funding mechanisms?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's no monies that are going to be spent or encumbered with the motion?
No, sir.
Okay. How do you feel about that, Commissioner Johns?
Well, being that I couldn't get a second when I was trying to get the Alderberry property, and the fact that the gentleman got up and said earlier that we have so many kids on the south end that live on the south end that don't have enough ball fields, so we really don't have enough facilities. And I think that I had a very good strategic plan on that, and I've asked Melissa to look for money for funds for that, and I'm not giving up on it. I'm continuing with that because, as you all know, we did not get the golf garden, the front part of that, 25 acres. It's now 320-something apartments. So, and again, as I've said many times, there's not one single county building in District 4, not one, not a senior center, not a community center, not a anything. And y'all are fine with just glossing over District 4 and just telling District 4 to just kind of shut up and sit still. And then we've given the land for this agriculture, we've given them the land, and we've approved all the building for it. And now and then on this list that I'm looking at, they want us to pay for all this other stuff up there. And I just think that, you know, we've got to be fair about all of this. You know, we've got the property at the end of the golf course. We've got the ask for the swimming pool up there. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're doing up there. But, you know, you guys are going to have to bend a little bit and come on my side and for once and agree that the Alderberry property is not just for District 4, it's for the entire county. And so I think that it's only fair to go back to the TDC, let the TDC make this decision, because that's what they're there for. And I just think it's wrong for us to say, you all said that you want to spend $600,000. I agree with you. I think that's kind of, you know, ridiculous to spend that kind of money on marketing. But they need to hear this other proposal. They need to hear your proposal. I don't have a problem with whatever they decide they want to do. If they want to encumber that money for this, I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem with asking Melissa to earmark everything else for it.
Well, I agree with you all the way up to that last statement. I don't think we're asking her to earmark. I think we're just asking her
To identify.
to potentially identify if it could be spent and where it would be an equivalent ask that, like, if you would want her to identify places where Alderberry money would come from. It doesn't mean it's going to be spent or it's going to be entertained. It just means that she's going to look at the funding sources and let us know what's available, even to include your project.
But the difference is, this project's gonna cost a couple of million at most. Alderberry, just the land, was $20 million. We don't have $20 million to spend on
Actually,
land.
I had it laid out pretty well.
And I didn't see it, and I was for that for the most
Without
part.
borrowing any and without using any TDC money or
I didn't, Where's that 20 million gonna come from? The
I
magic
laid
tree?
it out when I.
All right, all right,
no, I
let's,
laid
let's,
it out.
let's stay in order here. I'm not even sure that we need a motion.
I don't
Do
think we
we?
do.
If we could just ask that this item be brought up at the TDC level, at the next meeting, and then, Commissioner Johns, I don't think there's anything that would prohibit you from offering up your idea with a laid-out plan of where alternative funding may exist for your project either at the same
I
time.
did do that.
So if we're on this issue, we do have a,
Second, it don't count
Okay.
back.
well, we have a motion by Gladwell, correct, Madam Clerk?
Right,
And seconded by whom?
Commissioner Curry.
Curry. The only part of that statement that definitively needs a motion is I heard your first motion, perhaps not your restated version of it, was to direct that none of those North Walton funds be spent until this could happen.
Correct.
Well, yes, that, suspend any spending of that.
Well, you got to have a
until-
motion for that. Everything else does not require the motion. So if that is part of your motion, then we need to go forward with the motion and second.
Well, I
on the
mean,
floor.
that just makes sense because we don't want the money spent and then Mr. Johnson get up there and ask for it. Oh, well, we'd give it to you if we hadn't already spent it.
Where are we at in the mechanics of when the TDC authorized the spending and then putting those monies into use? Where are we at in that process?
About 2.5 weeks removed, so if they've spent any of it, I'd be surprised. But the motion's well taken, even if they've spent a little bit of it. They certainly haven't spent all of it by today's date. If they have, I'd be shocked, so I better say that. I mean, they may have, but I don't think so.
You're recognized.
And I talked to you, Clay, the other day, because I had a question. Because you said, with that money, it was, I found it, I don't know, peculiar that they made that motion for the 600 grand. And I was like, well, don't that have to come to the BCC? I talked to Matt out there, and he said it was coming to the BCC at the next, because it's at the north end, so the next. So I guess my question is, now I'm more confused than ever, because you told me that the money, if it was budgeted,
Correct.
they don't need any kind of say-so from us. But if it's not budgeted, so how can that, when they did their budget, I don't think anybody stood up there and said, hey, in the next 6 months, I know we're gonna have 800,000 in the reserves at the north end, but I'm gonna ask for 600,000 for marketing. So now your statement is saying that something completely different. So can you please catch me up?
I don't know that that's anything there is completely different. My advice, and I remain of what I told you, is that your question was, don't TDC expenditures have to come before you? And
Correct.
as you, and as I know your fellow board members will recall, many TDC expenditures do come before you. But you certainly do not approve every single dollar that runs through that TDC. If it is a budgeted item, if they have already created a budget for it, and that gets approved by the board, then you do not individually approve it. Now, when we spoke, I said, I don't recall this being part of their budget. I think that's why they
It wasn't.
approved it. But in what we did talk about, and Mr. Ogren's now clarified, is he really had two choices. He could have waited and brought it back to you if they didn't plan to spend any of it this fiscal year as part of the strategic plan and the overall budget when they present their budget coming forward later this year. But he's choosing to bring it forward, so after you and I talked, I found the same thing out, is that he does plan to present it for your independent approval at the next board meeting, because it is not part of their overall budget.
So there is no money spent, because he was anticipating he's shaking his head, so he was anticipating coming to the BCC to ask anyway.
Correct. Yeah, and my statement today, just so you're clear, I can't say whether they've spent the money or not, one way or the other, so I don't want to be on the record saying they have or haven't spent it. That's a finance question that's outside of even probably Melissa's purview.
Chair, I had a
Chair,
part
Matt,
two.
come on up.
Whoa, one second.
I wasn't done.
Mr. Algren, could you
Yes.
come up? Mr. Algren? Well, Mr. Algren? Could you offer some real-time update in where we are and what the intentions are?
Absolutely, Chair. For the record, Matt Algren. So our intent, understanding that our goal was to allocate or encumber these reserve dollars, was to bring that back to the board at the next North End meeting, because this was a North End ask, right? So we understood that if we wanted to utilize reserve dollars, which are unbudgeted, we needed to bring that back to BCC for BCC approval. So that was our plan.
And
So all the
Commissioner,
motion says is that we're asking him to suspend that until Mr. Johnson has a chance to get to the TDC board and
Exactly.
ask for it. That's all and that requires a motion, I'm pretty sure.
It does,
You've got
and
a
just
motion
don't bring it
and a
back if it
Got a
passes.
motion and a second, so why can't we vote on it?
Okay,
Well, we got public.
we have a motion.
Well, I did have a
Second.
part two, Chair. I just, real quick, if you may. The second part of my statement or question was, it was brought up some other purchases, but I didn't want to go into all that. I mean, this all boils down to living within your means. You know, if you got the money and you can find it pretty quick, great. But if you have to play a shell game and you have to move this around to get this, to get that, to get this, and then drain all these accounts to get one thing, that is, I mean, if we use it would take, and I'm not going to say the property, but you're talking a $20 million purchase, 20 years of beach vending money to buy something. I mean, you have to live within your means, and that was the whole point of that last land discussion. That's the whole point of the ball fields. That's the whole point of this ag center, living within your means. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So we're as it stands, as the motion as stated, let's stay in that posture. Who in the audience would like to speak on this? I saw Amy, did you have your hands up? Ms. Harris, Ms. Leitner, Tabitha Howard. We'll, let's just go with, Tabitha, would you like to start? Then Randy, then Ms. Harris, then Ms. Wise-Coble. You're recognized.
Yeah, actually, I was at that TDC meeting on February the 3rd and had questioned that myself because I couldn't figure out what they were going to be spending the money on. And I'm looking back, and there were only two options, option A and option B. And the gym was there and had suggested at least to go with the lesser of the two to keep some reserves. And also Barbara Morano has suggested she thought that the reserves were supposed to be for, during hard times with a storm or something, that, you may need that for salaries and different things. But, and also they were basing it on this amphitheater that was mentioned several times. But when I even spoke, I said, well, I was just at the Tafuniak City Hall meeting, they were talking about the amphitheater through the CRA stuff. So maybe they need to pull back the reins a little bit because there isn't anything to advertise. And I do agree with Joe Johnson with that. And myself, I was involved with the FFA when I was younger, and it would be a good asset for the community. And that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Leitner? Sure. It's America.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, for the record, Suzanne Harris.
sorry. I thought the usual was here. First off, the TDC, Josh Chalmers, is your representative from the North End. He knew nothing about this. I talked to Josh the day after the meeting. Josh had informed that he wasn't going to be able to be there because his child was sick and he had gotten him a doctor's appointment. Josh didn't know this was coming up. So the North End representative had no idea we were going to get a thing at the TDC that said spend $800,000, all the money on advertising, or spend $600,000 on advertising. I think Josh has called each one of you and spoken to you about this. The TDC Council really and truly should support everything that North End wants because it is their money. It's not our money. The South End on that TDC Council will support whatever Josh, I think, Thompson wants. But when I talked and found out, he didn't even know anything about it. He wasn't for this. We do advertise. We hire people out of California to come do our TV commercials, and we run them in about 15 states. Y'all have nothing to advertise right now. You lost money last year, and you lost money this year. And the TDC was doing advertising for y'all, and you were losing money. You've got to have something to advertise. Josh and I have talked about this at BCC meetings when Brad was there. Y'all approved, or the BCC, the TDC approved a new amphitheater, not the $4 million one that somebody else wanted. They approved, with Brad as the chair, and Brad, I'm sure remembers this, just the amphitheater on the lake was falling in, and it was a disaster. And we already approved money for that. That hasn't even been done up there. Y'all have got to have something to bring tourists in. Tourists hit Florella. I can tell you, I'm in the tourist business. They hit Florella, they get gas, and their children have already said from Ohio, Indiana, everywhere, how much further, for about 8 to 10 hours. All they're doing is trying to get to the beach and get checked in. There is plenty of things for them to do when they get to the beach on a rainy day. There are all kind of new arcades, there are all kind of things for them to do. We've got to get something to do for the north end. I don't care what it is. The Tractor Museum, y'all have been working on that forever. Danny, you talked to me about that when you first ran. At that time, I was opposed to it, but I have a different opinion now. We need ball fields up there. We need tournaments up there. We need golf tournaments up there. We need a golf course to succeed. I've always supported everything in the north. But I'm telling y'all, until you build something.
Give me one last sentence.
Till you build something for us to advertise for people to come to, you're giving Zender $600,000 for nothing.
Let's bring it in. Thank you.
Randy Lightner, Lightner. I was going to get to come to a meeting and just say a few nice things, but my heart's racing, my blood's boiling. I'm going to start out by saying we don't have anything, like others have said, anything to advertise in the north end. We've got Morrison Springs. If you're not there at 8 a.m., you're not getting in. But you better be there by 6:30 a.m. if you want to be sure. We got a round lake. I don't think that requires $600,000 worth of advertising right now. I think it requires no advertising until we get caught up. And I most certainly don't think that any commissioner who thought the racetrack in Woodlawn was next door to Amazon and Mossy Head should have so many opinions about what's happening. I think that if Alderberry is so important that you just sit here and basically say you're holding votes hostage, go buy it yourself and do what you want to with it. I think you can have plenty of time the next 4 years.
Hold on, John, you got one ahead of you. Ms. Wise-Coble? And Mr. King, you'll be next.
Amy Wise-Coble, huge agricultural fan, fifth generation farming family with a son headed off in the major agriculture. So pretty exciting times right now for me. And I think my late father would look at all of us and probably say what we need to do is file up and over. If you look back in my history on the TDC and my involvement, I really was a huge supporter of North End TDC, our TDT tax to begin with. Hey, we started down that road, went Walton. I want to be a supporter. I'm trying to be a supporter. But we have three fundamental problems in my opinion. Product is certainly at the top of the list. Available rooms is a problem right now. And also, marketing assets is something that can help us. In my various conversations past the vote at the TDC meeting, I have looked at some different things. I spoke with Matt about the fact that this had to be very well marked, planned out. But I think today, the biggest thing that we can do to help the North End economy is get a really high-end marketing piece about the products we do have. Fairness, maybe Morrison Springs fills up, but I do believe a 7-night beach deck tour on 30A, those folks will do something. We get questions all the time. What's just a one-day great activity? If we could open up the bays and the rivers to some type of boat rental operation, there's a lot of things that we can do, but I think really what we need to do right now, and I'm not saying I wouldn't support the Tractor Museum, that's a great concept, I'm not saying that at all, but I really think we need to take a deep breath, sit around the table for 2 days, whoever's willing to do so, identify our current assets and our product, identify a reasonable amount of marketing on those. Let's list out the restaurants in the Phoenix.
You're so moving in the right direction.
Yes. Well, and like if we got to really high-end piece that we put in the South End rooms. I'll put them in every homeowner's collection rental that said, hey, try this great new restaurant. These are the restaurants that are in the Peniac. These are the shopping things in the Peniac. This is Morrison Springs. And people can see it and touch it and go ahead and tell them, 20-minute drive, 25-minute drive, whatever it is. I think you'd be surprised that we could get our feet under ourselves and start to make progress. And then yes, with product and really private enterprise, wedding venues, hunting lodges. There's a lot of things up on that South Alabama farm that we're outside of traditional farming that this family's about to start looking at. And we can still get traditional farm with cattle and peanuts and cotton. So I just encourage all of us that it may be time for us at this point in juncture to take a deep breath, say, okay, here's where we are, here's where we want to be, and these are the logical steps that we think can help us get there.
That's what I want to set out. I don't want to be isolated into something that we don't have a plan for. I want it to be a broad study of what those monies could be utilized, and then once you round out the matrix, if this is identified as something that is feasible and doable, well, then that would be the direction that the board would take. I mean, we haven't seen a plan yet on how, if we seed this operation with money, how are we going, what's the anticipation that we're going to see fruit from our labor? And I don't say this in a derogatory way, but when I go to visit my family in Thomaston, Alabama, I drive by the Hank Williams the Hank Williams Museum in Georgiana every time, and I never see anybody there. Now, I don't know how they fund that, if it's just on private donations or whatever, but it's the same for a lot of museums. I mean, if we could be very thoughtful and deliberative in putting together a plan and not discounting all the other virtues that we have to offer in the county, whether it's Morrison Springs or whether it's something else, that's the prudent approach. I guess the question, so if we could move in that direction, that's where I want to go. The question is, I think the question at hand is, we have to decide whether or not we suspend what has currently been obligated. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you have a problem?
I don't personally think, again, we can't talk to each other either. I don't think you're going to have a TDC member extremely offended if y'all send it back and say, hey, just reconsider this. And then if somebody on the vice believes fully 1,000%.
Okay, so that's where we're at. Look, Mr. King, did you want to offer something different that hasn't been said?
Thanks, Chair Commissioners. I just may have a little bit different perspective. I don't think this is a north-south thing. I think you're going to have, and let me back up a second. We've got Silver Sands Factory Outlet in the south end. It employs, and I'm not knocking it, it employs 1,500 to 2,000 people. Depending on the season, it generates $200 million in taxable revenue, 100 stores. I'm not saying anything derogatory, but in the south end of the county, we need, as a community, more things to do than the beach and Silver Sands Factory Outlet. And I think we're connected to this project. If you've not seen the tractors, please go see them. It's incredible. It is just really something special. And I think it's a tourist attraction. I don't know why it wouldn't be paid for South End tourism money. Somebody can set me straight on that, and no doubt somebody will. But this is a tremendous opportunity, I think, to have something to do besides Silver Sands and the beach. And when it rains on the beach and in South End, people are starving for something to do. And I think they'll drive up here. And I think, there's a lot of things that you've got to consider today to give people more to do. And I think this would be a great asset. That's all. Thank you.
Hold on, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Moore. Madam Clerk, for the record, Lee Moore, Leigh.
Thank you. As the Peniac downtown has developed out and revitalized, I can't stop thinking about something, and now I can't stop thinking about it today listening to this conversation. When I was younger, every single year for years, I went to West Virginia and rafted the Golly River. And up there, where we stayed and where everybody stayed, and I was one of many, many people who did that, there was the best little downtown area. And people stayed, some hotels, Airbnbs, and real B&Bs back then, there were more of those, and would go downtown at night after they rafted all day and just pack out every single store, restaurant, whatever kind of retail business you can think of in that downtown area. It was seasonal, it was mostly in the fall. But what Amy was saying is exactly right. And I agree with John too, that I think we already have the ingredients here in the county. And it's, when you think about north of the Bay, the Springs, the river, you know, and then the agricultural component. I'm not speaking against the Tractor Museum. I think that could and might be a good piece of that. But I think if we all work together, both governments here in Walton County and the citizens, there is something there that could be put together that would be amazing, that would be very similar to that. And you don't have to give up the character, and you don't have to give up that it's a great place to live either. But you can bring that tourism in for those different assets, many of which already exist. It's just that you've got to market it right, and you've got to market it to the right people, which is what the TDC can really help with. So just wanted to throw that out. Thank you.
Well, I think the bottom line, Ms. Reese, go ahead and come on up. Madam Clerk, for the record, Brenda Reese. I think the bottom line in this discussion is that if you have TDC monies that are collected for the very purpose of enhancing tourism to a particular area, you want to identify what that return on investment. I know that's your favorite phrase, Mr. Curry, is return on investment. What's the ROI? If this is identified by the Tourist Development Council as being the project that's going to create that return, then great, that's the direction we move. If the TDC determines that those monies could be spent elsewhere that produces a greater return, then, you know, that shouldn't be discounted. It shouldn't be just removed from the equation. So that's why I think that it sounds like we're kind of moving in that direction to reconsider what the intended usage is for the monies that were already passed out to be spent, evaluate that, see if there is more lucrative opportunities to spend that money, and maybe it's the Tractor Museum, maybe it's not, but maybe it is. And is that kind of where we're moving here as a board, potentially? Ms. Reese?
Brenda Reese. I was the chairman of the board for the Walton County Heritage Museum for a number of years, and had to beg for $500 for a brochure for an open house event. And I personally went around to the motels in South Walton and put them in a motel, in the hotels. So I am for history. I love, you know, I like tractors. I wanted to connect. I live at the beach. There's a lot. I just hate to see, you know, that's a lot of money to go without thinking of the whole picture of, you know, from the Highlands to the Gulf is what was on that 1931 map. For 1931, beaches aren't even mentioned as a resource. And so we have a lot of other things beside the beach that we do need to promote. And whether it's the Chautauqua, there's a wall, I haven't heard one person say there's a Walton County Heritage Museum down there that people love to go to. I can talk to the little snowbirds around me in my neighborhood, and they want to do things. I have had people call me up and offer to pay me $500 to get a bus to go around. Even I went around once in South Walton. There's a lot of history things just on South Walton tour. Not much picking up people from maybe, you know, at the beach, but certainly in the snowbird season and the off season, and people have come in maybe to a dental convention and they've brought their spouses with them, and they're there for a week, and they want something else to do. They would love to come up here. I know I've talked to them on a tram, on those buses if they're not busy in the off-season, and come up and visit all kinds of museums, whether it's a tractor, the museum that we have. The Chautauqua's good right now, as I understand it. Why are we not supporting the 1885 Chautauqua that actually is what brought people to the Funiac? That just blows my mind that that is not being supported. So Brackenridge, Hillary Brackenridge, she was the first judge of West Florida from Alaqua. In Tallahassee, they just built a replica of the first Capitol. And so Henry Marie Brackenridge's log cabin could be built in Alaqua, for instance. So there's a lot of things, history and beach and sports that could be done. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. Mr. Johnson, hold on, just come on up, but give me just a second. Would it be, it seems like, let me ask this, Commissioner Gladwell, was your motion. Would you be okay with the motion as stated to suspend the monies, to have a suspension in place of the monies that were already appropriated and approved by the board, period, on this issue? And then at the next meeting, we ask that this item be brought back up for consideration, and at the same time, simultaneously, Ms. Thomason look for funding sources for this project and for Ms. John's project as well?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. I think, I don't want the Alderberry thing connected to the Tractor Museum at all.
No, it wouldn't be.
No.
It wouldn't be connected. It would not be connected.
You just said it would.
No. But it would, by offering direction, she can look at, well, there's nothing that would, I'll tell you what, there's nothing that would prohibit Ms. Johns from asking Ms. Thomason to look for alternative revenue sources.
I have, yeah.
But that's not part of what we're talking about here. Mr. Johnson deserves a straight up and down vote on this project. All we're suggesting is to suspend any kind of spending on that until we can get back to the TDC board.
Well, that's what I said.
But no connection to no
Well,
Alderberry.
there's no connection. I'm just saying that.
And Ms. Thomason can, I mean, I don't care what she looks for, but we just want her to look for this, some money. And I mean, that's as good as.
Chair, may I ask Clay a question? Did we just not say that this money was unbudgeted? So why would we have to suspend something that has to come before us to get approved anyway?
Because if Mr. Ogren's bringing it before you at your next meeting, that'll be prior to the TDC having a chance to have their next
Perfect.
meeting. So the
Thank you.
purpose of this would be to kick it all the way past that.
Thank you.
And I think Mr. Johnson deserves the opportunity to go to the TDC board without encumbrance, pardon my pun.
I think that was what we started with, was you just going back to the TDC board and letting sure they knew about it and let them make their decision and then kick it back to us.
That
I
is
think-
absolutely, I'm good with that, but I like to say something. You can cut me off anytime you want, Mr. Chair.
Well, you have 3 minutes.
I'm looking for you to ask me money for the agriculture.
Actually, you're over 3, so kind of make this clear and concise. I'll give you.
I came before you before asking for the agriculture education center, and, you know, there's no money in the north end and the south end money that's not approved. When there was a tax on the sales tax, $30 million bond was issued, and I understand it in the municipal correctly. That money was used in South Florida. You spend in over $10 million, I think $7 million on Helen, McCall. To be honest with you, it's a little disheartening to stand here and thinking that South Walton money, South Walton, North Walton money don't deserve South Walton money, never getting any money for anything that the kids don't do. This is not for me. I'd rather be up there on my tractor, dealing with my cows, and stand down here and argue for them. The people I've worked in, that's in the agricultural community, want something for their kids. And I'm asking, I don't care if you get the money or you, but I'm asking that you give consideration to North Walton, this facility is needed on North Walton. I just wish that, and I appreciate the money that was spent at the country club, I appreciate the money that was spent on the other parks. So I would like for y'all to consider the money for this total project. You know, whenever I didn't get the money that Mr. Curry,
Here, let's wrap that up.
Mr. Curry proposed, because it's South Walton money, I said, well, this is North Walton money, maybe we can get a $5 million investment for 1.5, and that's a good deal all day long. I think that.
Let's end it there.
Melissa, if I'm correct, we're still paying on some of that sports complex, correct? And what is that, where are we at with that?
The total outstanding debt for the county is about $10 million.
And that's for technically the sports complex in Freeport and South End Sports
Freeport,
Complex.
South End, there's still a little bit of the courthouse construction. It was several capital projects, the sheriff's office and jail.
Yeah. So that's another reason why I thought that this beach money would be great to spend countywide. So thank you, Melissa.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this issue? Okay, so is it fair to say that we're going to suspend the monies that were originally agreed to be spent, period, bring this item back up to the TDC for consideration?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to do just that. Is there, there was a
Yeah, you already
motion by
have a
Commissioner
second.
Gladwell, seconded by Commissioner Curry. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it adopted, 5-0.
Chairman, if you'd like, we can step back and do 15 and 18. It was removed from the consent
items.
I'd like to delete my add-on since we just spent
tell you what,
the last
let's-
hour.
Let's stand in informal recess for 15 minutes.
Beautiful.
We will reconvene at 2. Do what now?
Tony, I would have loved
to see you catch her.
You look good. You look good. He got bored after all that messages. We started texting.
Item number 7 was the acceptance of the insurance money. Just the budget. Through the kind of. That's the insurance money.
I have to announce it in public hearing. I have to do it during the public hearing.
Well, if we did both,
I still have to call it during public hearing.
in case they want to leave.
Could you move it to the next item?
Wherever y'all want me to do it.
Where is that?
It's under public hearings. It will be number 28.
Okay, this is an informal announcement, but if you're here for the Eastern Lake item,
28.
number 28, it's going to be continued till when?
March 24th. That's also true for the Inlet Beach items 29 and 30. We will make those official announcements during the public hearings.
All right, we on tab 19?
We're going to step back and do 15, right?
We had 2 items removed from the consent agenda. That'll be tab 15
Yes, sir. And 18.
and 18.
Chair, I just wanted to bring them up for a brief, I guess, explanation by the folks behind it, because, I mean, we have commissioners that have to put on a regular agenda to move like $5,000 for something in rec plat fees, but then we have, $1 million on a consent agenda. So I just think the public probably would like to know what that 1.4 million is going to be spent on. And the other question on the parks, I just had a real quick question on that, but the 15, I've already talked to Billy, and he said he'd be fine to explain it to the public. Thank you, Billy.
Madam Clerk, for the record, Billy McKee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item, we have it's a tub grinder is what it's called. It's a really big industrial machine that grinds up stumps, logs, landscaping debris and that kind of thing. It's used to make mulch at the landfill. So it also reduces volume, so we don't have big piles of material. We can reduce that volume. We use that material around the landfill, the mulch, for erosion control. We also use it for alternative cover for our garbage. The alternative cover cuts down on the need for borrowed material, which saves money and, for borrowed material for future needs. So this particular machine that burned, it caught fire, I believe, in September. We bought that thing, I think, in let me see if I can get my numbers here, 2019, $695,000 and change. The insurance company paid off a complete purchase price for that. So we got no depreciation, which I was kind of surprised about that. So we got back a full purchase price on that. We looked at some different machines for our application, for our needs at the landfill. We have, our recommendation is to purchase this particular machine, which is a horizontal grinder, and this thing is on track, so our operators can move that around remotely from the cab of the excavator where they're working. They don't have to get off and chain this thing and drag it around. Essentially, it's the size of a semi-truck trailer. It's very large, probably 80, 90,000 pounds, a very large machine. The purchase price of this machine is pretty high, it's $1.4 million. So we need about $700,000, $711,553 to complete that purchase. So we're not asking for $1.4 million, we're asking for $700,000, but it is a total cost of $1.4.
And that's coming out of your
Yes, it's coming out of
coffer
solid
anyway.
waste surtax fund. Yes.
I just think a lot of times I'll get phone calls after this going, well, you spent 3 hours talking about allocating $2,000 or something, but then we put something for $1.4 million on a consent. I have the same question. So I appreciate you coming up here and explaining it, because a lot of the public didn't know any of that. So maybe I'll stop a few phone calls on tomorrow.
All right.
Motion
Thank
to
you, sir.
approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Glidewell, seconded by Commissioner Anderson. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Show it adopted 5-0.
Thank you.
Number 18.
18, really quick question. I know that there was money allocated, it seemed like in the, when you click down or drill down last year. Was there any money left that could go towards this, or you spent the 25,000 last year and you need the full amount of 20,000 for the side-by-side?
I don't know if there was a side-by-side budgeted last year.
No, it just said, I said in your, I guess in your document, it said there was 25,000 for something
Yes,
else or
we
whatever.
have
Was
money
all that
left
money
over.
spent? Was all that money spent?
No.
Okay, could we use some of that money and maybe?
We have some of that money left over to use towards the side-by-side. And the side-by-side's actually 11,000. We didn't have the final quote before the agenda item was due, so it's not 20,000. We just put that in there. We knew that would cover it. So the side-by-side's actually $11,000. They used the Parks Department side-by-side last year.
Okay. Perfect. So you didn't use it all last year, and you got the price down 11,000, so I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Curry and seconded by Commissioner Johns. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay.
Thank you, Mr. Brad.
Yes, sir. Show it pass 5-0. All right, tab 19.
No, those are the consent agenda, and that's already been done. We're on
Gotcha.
26, and I'll be glad to take that away, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Item 26, I'm requesting to approve and authorize the chairman to execute a corrective deed of conveyance to Mossy Head Industrial Holdings LLC. For the board's edification on this, in December of 2021, you sold approximately 6 3/4 acres to Mossy Head Industrial Holdings. They've already built a building out there. They're doing what they said they would do. For those of you who say this sounds familiar, you'd be right. In 2022, the title company realized they didn't remember where their client's company was located and had to correct their place of origin on the deed. So we did a corrective deed for them at that time. The problem is that they have now once again identified, they're the ones preparing these deeds, mind you, that their mortgage company will not allow them to move forward with their construction on their addition out there because the parcel ID on the original deed was part of the parent parcel of the county, and they want it to directly reflect the newly assigned parcel ID number that is attached to this parcel. So that's all it's changing is the parcel ID number. It's one digit, but yet this is the second corrective deed, but there you go.
There's a motion by Commissioner Johns to approve and authorize the deed parcel correction, and seconded by Commissioner Gladwell. All in favor of the motion say aye. 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 All opposed, nay. Show that pass 5-0.
Mr. Chair, I need a motion to open the public hearing for item 27.
Motion, there's a motion by Commissioner Johns, second by Commissioner Gladwell, to open the public hearing. Without objection, show the public hearing open.
This is a request to consider an ordinance that amends Chapter 20 of the Walton County Code of Ordinances, specifically Section 20.35, to clarify language. The point of this section is very simple. If you're letting someone else operate your vehicle and they get a citation for a parking violation or other violation of this chapter, you have the obligation as the owner to notify us who is operating your vehicle, or we're going to attach that citation to you as the owner. This is just cleaning up that language to make it a little bit more consistent with how it's actually applied.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Johns, second by Commissioner Gladwell. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Gotta have public comment.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this? See none? All, show
it
the
approved.
motion approved 5-0.
Need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion closed.
Moved by Commissioner Gladwell, second by Commissioner Johns to close the public hearing. Show the public hearing closed without objection.
And Madam Clerk, if you'll just indicate that we are in the public hearing section of the agenda, the remaining items of the public hearing are all due for continuance. We will omit opening and closing public hearings unless the board actually wants to take them
I just
up.
have one question.
Well, let's start with 28. 28 is the motion, is the ordinance dealing with the Coastal Dune Lake Protection Zone ordinance. That is there for you. The request is to continue that to March 24th, 2026. Board members, I will also be circulating to each of you well before that date. I know some of you are going to DC. The version of the conservation easement. Unfortunately, Mr. Chair, we have spoken to the state. Florida Forever is very specific. They prefer tracts of land over 500 acres, and it needs to be on the state's priority list. This is unlikely to be there, but I do have some options to consider a conservation easement for you. I would request we address both of those at the same time if the board is prepared to make a motion, and if this is the one you have the question on, before that motion's taken, we can do it. Okay, nope, never mind.
Motion to continue.
Can we show that done without objection?
No, let's just go ahead and have the vote.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show that passes 5-0.
I will ask us to consider items 29 and 30 simultaneously. Those are two ordinances related to the Inlet Beach Neighborhood Plan. The first would have been an amendment to the Land Development Code broadly. The second would have been to consider the change to the Inlet Beach Neighborhood Plan at the request of counsel for the Neighborhood Association and the affected developer. We are requesting to continue these both to March 24th, 2026. I am comfortable doing this as one motion for both items.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner John, second by Commissioner Gladwell. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
I have a question now.
Question by Commissioner Curry.
Is this, I didn't see, wasn't there supposed to be a second hearing on the inlet neighborhood plan on this one, or no?
We will have to do a second reading of it, but since we're continuing the first part of the ordinance, we have to continue them both together.
Okay, so when are we gonna do the second part of the hearing? Before these two items, or
No,
in conjunction with?
So that's item 36 on the agenda, and I was about to address that next.
I didn't see that yet. Okay, I'm sorry.
So we're coming there quickly, if we will. If, Mr. Chair, if you will entertain, if after this vote, I will address item 36 to get it off our agenda.
Perfect, thank you. I'm sorry. My mistake.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, they had two.
By motion by Commissioner Gladwell, second by Commissioner Johns. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. So that passes 5-0.
Item 36, Mr. Chairman, is the Inlet Beach Neighborhood Plan. You had first reading of the ordinance to correct the Scrivener's error. This would have been second reading to correct that ordinance and would have been the adoption of that ordinance. As it is anticipated, item 30 will supersede that. I am requesting that you continue item 36 to March 24th. If you do not adopt item 29 from this agenda and item 30 from this agenda, you'll be taking up the second reading of that item at that time.
Okay, so we need to
Continue
approve a motion
36.
to continue tab 36.
Motion to continue.
Moved by Commissioner Gladwell, second by Commissioner Johns. All in favor of the motion, say aye. All opposed, nay. Show it passes 5-0.
And to be clear, if item 30 passes, that will supersede 36, and you'll never have a hearing on it. Because there won't be a Scrivener's error, because there'll be an agreed-upon neighborhood plan.
Well, I just figured you had to fix that before you could process something beyond that. I mean, to me, I figured you had to fix the neighborhood plan and then go to whatever you're gonna do next. I mean, that was my
That
question.
is the step, is 30 would fix the neighborhood plan, and it would eliminate the Scrivener's error all at once.
But 36, you would have the opportunity to yay or nay, which would.
All
go away the
36
other
does is clean up the Scrivener's error. It does not address the additional issue of the 98 frontage that is perhaps inconsistent with the neighborhood plan already.
Okay.
So we're looking at a comprehensive solution. And those are all the public hearings we do have, though, Mr. Chair.
So we have completed the public hearing agenda,
Yes, sir.
and we have passed tab 36 to continue. Okay, so that brings us to 31. Commissioner Curry, you're ready.
Yeah, that's just gonna be, real quick. We had some, I mean, I'm still looking at that meeting going, what did I just watch? So, I just wanted to see if we could give direction and have a plain black and white type policy and procedure when it comes to volunteer boards. Right now, it looks like it's whoever hand hits the buzzer first. You know, we missed some, public comment, if there is supposed to be public comment, not sure. We missed a motion and a second. So I would like to have some kind of direction to put something on paper with policies and procedures, since we like to say those two words a whole bunch, on this volunteer board system. It seems like each year it's different, so
If the board is so willing, legal will be glad to work with admin. I know that admin staff will be glad to have one consistent policy to apply, because I feel like this has been all over the place. We'll be glad to bring something back if that's what the board would like.
Commissioner Johns?
Yes, I would like to add that there's a mention here that an individual that was, became a member of the board that didn't have an application. But when you write this up, and I know we had talked about this before, that certain boards, like the planning board, that each commissioner can choose their own to represent their district, and any above the 5 of us, if there's 7 on the board, then those other 2 would be at large, and those would be voted on by all of us.
We can bring all that back at the same time.
Okay, all right, thank you.
That's all I'm asking, some consistency, that's all. And that's it on that one, Chair.
Mr. Johnson? Oh, there's no motion, so there's no public comment.
Item 32, I was in Washington. I'm still waiting on records requests such as as-built surveys on projects done by the county, among other things. So I don't think it's fair to bring, I have a lot of emails, and I was going to go through all the emails on the inconsistencies and the hypocritical, I guess you would say, emails going back and forth where we do something here, but we don't do something here. I'm going to wait and push this item to the next BCC meeting so I have time to maybe wait for staff to get me more of the information that I've requested the last 2 weeks. So then I can put it out there for staff to go through prior to the meeting instead of just putting it on them with nothing to show them at first. So I will pass on that one, put it on the next one. But in place of that, I would like to ask, since the chair not too long ago had instructed Ms. Schultz from planning to get with Mr. Osborne. I would like for that to take place with myself. If legal would like to be there, great. If they would like to, direct me one way or the other, great. But I think this needs to be put to bed. There's still issues out there. There's issues from 4 years ago when, I guess one of the other commissioners up here gave 60 days to the engineer to bring something back. I want to squash all this. So I would like the chair to at least reiterate that, the direction that he gave planning to get with Alan, you would continue that.
Mr. Curry and Mr. Chair, certainly Mr. Kellenberger and I have talked. Mr. Kellenberger is in the process of making sure that gets arranged.
Perfect.
I would like an opportunity to speak to you personally outside of an open board meeting.
Sure.
About the prudence of commissioner and/or legal being there, especially if legal is not there for the other side. We'll discuss those logistics, but that is in process. And I can actually, I think you were copied on some of those emails just before you left for DC,
Okay.
where we did ask that be moved forward. So that,
Okay.
Mr. Kellenberger and I are aware and we're working on it.
Okay, perfect. That's all I can ask. Thank you. That's all I got, Chair. See how easy I was?
Commissioner Gleibel, any updates?
No, Commissioner, Chairman, thank you.
Commissioner Johns, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yes, what I'd like to do is, the Driftwood Playground, they have, they're lacking in the 2 to 5-year-old playground equipment. They've got the playground equipment for the older kids, but not the younger ones. So we want to do an all-inclusive, really nice playground for the 2 to 5.
Motion to approve.
Driftwood. Pardon?
There's a
Motion to
motion to
approve.
approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Anderson. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
33.1.
Okay, and then the other one is, it came to my attention that the pitcher's mound at Helen McCall is in really bad repair. and
Commissioner
it's not
Anderson,
safe.
Commissioner Anderson moves.
Second.
to, adopt 33.1, seconded by Commissioner Curry. All in favor of the motion, say aye. All opposed, nay.
I have one.
Show it adopted. Now, would you like, now that we're in a posture that it's passed, go ahead and
I just want to say,
finalize what you were
there's a
saying.
good point that Commissioner Curry brought up a little while ago. Since these are plat fees that are already there, why do we have to do this process?
Exactly. Can't they go on to consent?
If it's,
They could go on the reason not to put them on consent is if it is an item that will need to be discussed by the board. But if it's more ministerial, you have a small allocation you want to make to a park that's already underway, then it could be handled with a simple item on the consent
For
agenda.
legal, can we put a set amount so then we know?
That's up to this board. It's your choice. The only thing I'm going to ask of you that, I don't know if this board's ever had anybody ask them, but I'll say it out loud because it is one of the reasons this happens, is I don't care if you spend money in your district out of your rec plat fees, but I need the board to discuss in public why you're spending money out of, say, your district in Commissioner
Oh, I don't
Curry's
have a
district.
problem with that.
Those items need to have a basis under the Florida Impact Fee Act to show it being moved to an adjacent zone and the consistency to satisfy dual rational nexus.
So if it's in our own district, we can say.
I have no
limit-
problem with that.
No problem.
It did, if the board wants it pulled off consent, they can pull it off consent.
Does she need a motion for that?
No, we can just
No?
start treating it that way.
But, I mean, is that what we want to do? If, let's say, someone wants to spend $5,000 on something that's controversial that's in their district, shouldn't,
Well, you would have the right, as the other four commissioners would, to pull it out off the consent agenda and talk about it.
okay.
It's just saying if a commissioner wants to spend their rec plat fees within their district, let them put it on the consent. If nobody objects, we go through
Okay,
it.
as long as it's on the consent. Yeah.
That's where it'll be, yes, sir, and it can be taken off.
Fair enough. Vice Chair Anderson,
We did mine at the start of the meeting.
anything else?
Nothing else, no.
Chair has none. Public comments. Mr. Johnson? Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I would like to take and thank each of you that's voted for me on the Board of Adjustment for the years I was on there. Explain that.
Well, a board that is a quasi-judicial board means it is a board that hears and solely hears quasi-judicial proceedings. Quasi-judicial proceedings are the explicit application of a written law or policy as it pertains to an individual applicant or a small subset of applicants.
I think I gave all my copies away, but the point is, when you're on a quasi-judicial board, it is like a judge, and the judge hears testimony, and that testimony is based on evidence. And the evidence is taken from people on the citizens board that is experienced in that field. It can be, in our position on that is surveyors, engineers, people that has knowledge of the code, especially that has working knowledge of the code. At the present time, Jeff Chick is the one that has most knowledge on that. There is nothing wrong, and we need citizens on there that is not in the field, but to be a correct quasi-judicial board from the standpoint of sitting on that board, there needs to be people that can interpret the evidence that is presented, because when you sit on that board, the lawyers is presenting evidence on their case that may be conflict of what the other one, but you need people that works in it, interpret it, and to put people that is not experienced in it. Not to say they're not good people, but I would like to see that adoption, since Mr. Atkinson is going to correct it. I think there needs to be 5 people on that board with experience in engineering, architect, in the field that knows, because it's not fair to planning, it's not fair to the applicant, and it's not fair to the citizens. They need to know what quasi-judicial means. And that means they are a judge. They're not to sit there and look at any issues that what's before them. And I think it's an injustice, and it's gonna be like the code board. If you don't put qualified people, then you're going to dissolve it, then you're going to put a magistrate, and then the citizens don't have a fair choice. They need a 7-member board, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any final remarks from the board? Anyone else behind Ms. Harris? You're last up. Mr. Leitner, do you plan to address the board? Yes. Okay.
I got so upset about the advertising money, I didn't talk about what I thought was a good idea. But Montgomery, Alabama has the biggest farmers market. People come from all over. It's not just for peas and corn and beans and stuff like that. People come from Atlanta that make baby clothes, they make Easter wreaths, they make Christmas wreaths, they make all kind of Valentine decorations. We drive from Birmingham to Montgomery to that farmer's market. The one in Birmingham is also great, but it's towards Tuscaloosa and it's not in the better part of town. But the one in Montgomery draws a lot. Y'all have a major opportunity with the land that you have, given you have the rodeo, and every time I go to Birmingham, which lately is every other week for my husband to have some treatments at UAB, the rodeo in Baker, Alabama has a sign right there as we cut through Baker. They have country music night, they have home shows that are out there where people come and see all the home show stuff. They have weddings at the rodeo, which I'm surprised, but receptions, but they have bands and they have everything out there. And it's always on their billboard, what they're doing when. So I think y'all have a really great opportunity with the Tractor Museum. And Randy did some homework on Tractor Museum. She doesn't have the numbers with her. But how many people stop along the way to go to tractor museums and what kind of money they earn? So you might look at, she's going to give that to Amy. But you might think about that whole thing as a tourist thing, because I know if we had gotten the other golf course, hadn't gone bankrupt, and we could have made windswept dunes grow, we could have been like Alabama, where we have the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, and it makes a fortune, and that is what supports the retirement system for all the Alabama teachers, medical doctors that worked at UAB, everybody. And it is packed all the time. So y'all have got a great opportunity up north, especially with that agricultural land. And I just think you can get to where you can advertise. But there was one other thing I wanted to say. When the logo was accepted to be Authentic Walton, nobody in North Walton wanted that. They started calling me by the droves. They want to be one Walton, which is what they are. So when I talked to Josh Connors, I asked him about that as quick as I could. And Josh said, Miss Harris, that's not what we want. We want to be one Walton. So I suggest the TDC ask the people up north of the bay what they want before they just start doing stuff. That would be a really big help.
Thank you.
And I have 9 seconds, 10 seconds, 11 seconds,
no, you're
12.
over.
I'm over? Oh.
We're going to send you a bill for those seconds.
Randy Lightner, Lightner. I came here to talk about tractors all the way from Defuniak. That's all I was going to talk about, and got a little sidetracked. So, like Suzanne said, I have looked at a lot of tractor museums all over the country, and I was really surprised how many people go through a tractor museum, any tractor museum, over the course of a year. And I hear a lot, there's a lot of people who have kind of been almost making fun of who wants to go look at tractors. Well, a lot of people. That's our heritage here, and that's the case for people all over the country. So I just want to mention to people who are still kind of against this, in the north end, I don't think we're really looking for, weekend visitors, week-long guests. We're trying to pull in more day trippers, overnight guests. So we have, on Saturdays, we have the farmer's market, which ends at noon. And then at night, we've got Tim Jackson and the Storytellers, something going on at Chautauqua Theater. There's nothing to do in the space of time in between that. So things like this may draw a bigger crowd. If they see there's 3 or 4 things to do while we're here, we'll go spend the day in Defuniak, maybe stay at Sunbright Manor for the night. So I just wanted to mention that, and I can't sit down without saying, in the future, I would greatly appreciate if past things that we didn't get our way on are not brought up when we're trying to improve things. That's sad. I can't even be mad anymore. That's just sad. Please don't do that. Thank you.
I will say one thing, Randy, I spent a lot of summers at my father's. My father used to pull these old tractors out of farm fields, and he would make them look brand new. And I actually teared up a little bit when the doctor took me around to look at all these tractors, because it reminded me of my father's garage. So thank you for bringing that up.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I would like to say something. I would like to say that when we were in Tallahassee a few weeks ago, and I stopped at our own booth, our Walton County booth, there was a gentleman there, and I don't know his name, but he is a farmer on the north end. And he was so interesting. I have a flyer in my office about all the things that they provide and all the things that they do. And I was so impressed. And I thought that he would be, I don't know if Mr. Johnson is, I'm sure you know him and you probably work with him, but he would be a great addition to the ag field up there as well. And I have the flyer in my office, and I'd like to share it with you. You're working on that. You're working on that. And for the record, I wasn't against you getting the $600,000. I just wanted it to go through the proper channels and let the TDC do their job and then come through us. That was it. And I think you know that I said to you that, if they're for it, I'm for it. So I know we need things up on the north end. There's no doubt about it. And we're trying to do the right thing, but it needs to be all over the county, one Walton. And I couldn't agree more, Ms. Harris, that you're absolutely right. I don't like that authentic Walton either. I never did like it. I don't think it's right. I think it should be one Walton. We always talk about, we always want to be together, and we always want to be one, and we do. And that is a distinction that shouldn't be. So I'm hoping that we can come up with something.
Ms. Harris, you've already had your 3 minutes.
Well,
but if you would like to talk to Ms. Johns offline, that'd be appropriate. Anything else, Commissioner Johns?
No, I was just going to say that, maybe you could get some people from the north end to go to those TDC meetings and give some input to those meetings. That might be helpful.
Anyone else? Commissioner Gladwell, Anderson, with that said, Vice Chair Anderson moves we rise.
We have legislative item.
Oh, I'm sorry.
36. This is the Alpers abandonment request approved by resolution. This is Mr. Shaw.
I had that scratched off.
No, it's still on. We scratched off the last one. It's the top one that we still have to do. It's 36 on mine.
Okay, that's why when you said 36, I had. All right, sorry.
That's all right. Good afternoon,
We had a Scrivener's error here.
Too many agendas once again.
I'm familiar with that. If I can proceed. Thank you. The item in front of you now is the Alpers abandonment. This is a request to approve by resolution. It is project number PA 25-000005. It was reviewed by Mr. Robert Baranti. This is an abandonment application that was submitted by Catalado Enterprises Incorporated on behalf of Joseph Alpers. They're requesting to abandon the 20-foot alley adjacent to lots 4 through 7 and 18 through 20 on .08 plus or minus acres, and the remaining right-of-way of North 4th Street that is adjacent to lots 18 through 20, measuring approximately 1/10 of an acre. This property has a future land use of residential and a zoning category of residential preservation and is located in District 5 at 190 Lane Street.
This is a continuance?
This is not a continuance.
It's a request to approve by resolution.
Okay.
It is number 35 on your sheet.
Okay,
Mr.
all right. So I'm sorry, I keep going back. Go ahead.
Very good. I do just want to make a couple of comments as it relates to the staff report. The planner, the project manager, had some conflicts and had to submit this prior to the planning commission meeting. The planning commission did recommend approval for this to move forward unanimously. The engineering comment, you'll see that it was the checkbox is marked as non-compliant. That has been resolved.
Is there any disagreement on this issue?
Public Works is typically the disagreeing party, but they have indicated they do not have an issue with this abandonment, and they don't see a future use in the right-of-way. So, that is all I have.
Commissioner Johns?
You don't have any neighbors or anything like that that are opposed to this?
I've not seen anything in the packet that would suggest so. I will say that there is one impacted neighbor that is not the property owner that is north of this site. The owner, the applicant for this, has granted an easement through his property to access that site. It is not currently developed and appears to be encumbered by an environmental sensitivity that would really make it difficult to develop. But there is access through there granted by an easement that the applicant has provided.
No one's being foreclosed.
I'm sorry?
No one's being blocked from their
No
property.
one is being landlocked with this.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. by
Second for
Commissioner
discussion.
Jones, second
So
by Commissioner Curry.
what was Public Work? You said Public Works at first didn't like it?
No, there was an engineering and CMS comment initially. It has been resolved. It is not in this packet now. And Public Works made the comment, I'm trying to get to it.
They typically oppose all abandonments, I believe was his comment.
Yes.
And this is one they do not.
Right. And they're not saying that they support it. They're just saying that they don't have an issue with it because they don't foresee any use in that right of way in the future.
Okay, all right.
I have one question for you. And I know you, Jason, if you would come up. I know that you've given, your client has given an easement to the north. And what about to the south? What's to the south of that?
Yeah, Jason Catalano, for the record.
You're gonna have to spell that.
Catalano. It's a lot easier than it sounds. Yeah, so when we originally started, Mr. Alpers was the applicant, was the owner. One of the questions that came up, he had a letter of support from the only other affected property owner, which is Mr. and Mrs. McCarty. As we got into it, I went to Mr. Alpers, I said, look, there's really no reason not to bring them in to this because there was going to be a sliver of land that would not be abandoned, that would still have the same problems. You can't access it. There's no way to get to it other than through their property. So we contacted Mr. and Mrs. McCarty. They agreed. So both neighbors, both property owners that would be affected by this are the applicants for the request. This gives them the ability to actually provide access through Mr. Alpers' property, which is adjacent to L Street, to get to the portion of property that the McCartys own that is currently landlocked, just because of the marsh. It's a kind of a little peninsula that you can't get to it without driving through somebody else's lot. So this would give them the ability to reconfigure some property. This is just the first step in that. They are both in agreement as they are now applicants, and appreciate the vote of approval.
So your point, Tony, there's nobody around this that's saying, hell no, we don't want this.
I don't, as far as what I've heard, no one has contacted me. All the letters that I sent out have my phone number. I haven't received any comment from any public. When I talked to Mr. Baranti, he received a comment from somebody who had more of a question about the plat itself and not anything specific to the abandonment request.
Okay. You good with it, Tony?
I'm good. Thank you, Jason.
Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on this? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it adopted.
Show the resolution adopted.
All right, well, that, Commissioner Anderson moves we rise. Show that done